What is going on, guys? Happy Saturday. I know it's playoff Saturday for the NFL. We have two games. Should be great. Should be fun to watch. But for those of you that are going to be playing both or you're skipping NFL and going to be playing NBA, I got you guys. I'm going to be breaking down the 6-game NBA slate here on DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite core plays, some injury news, how to attack the slate, and all that good stuff. So make sure to just hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the breakdown. Before getting into the breakdown, just want to do a little recap of my lineup from yesterday. Well, TJ, Nemhard, Edwards, Isaiah Jackson, Sabonis, Goodwin, Powell, and Steph. And yeah, it was okay night. Got back in the cash, got my money back, got $2 on top of that. So can't complain when you cash, you get your money back. But I mean, Steph really screwed us as a core play. 13.6% ownership, smash spot here versus the Spurs. All this hoopla about they're playing in the biggest attendance game in NBA history, and they put up 144 points. 144. Obviously, there's blowout risk, but 144. You think maybe Steph has 30? No, he has 27 actual fantasy points, 15 real life points. Just super frustrating there. I mean, the guy is averaging 51 fantasy points per game. Pretty much 30 more fantasy points would have put us at 230. Would have won 5 times my money. So it's just annoying how Steph was just terrible last game. Obviously, the blowout risk was there, but still, solid lineup build. It's kind of looking like tonight will kind of be the similar path, just in terms of those Indiana guys. But right now, Boston, the big news is Brogdon. With him, if he's out, it's just more minutes to guys like Smart, White, and then Pritchard becomes very viable as a nice value play off the bench at 3,100. If Brogdon's in, then my interest is going to be just Jason Tatum. Fantastic matchup. A little bit of a down game last game versus the Nets, but should see about 40-ish minutes. Has upside for 70+, we know that. Brogdon would just be more of a contrarian play there. It was very, very solid, but just did not play in the fourth quarter for some reason. They went to everyone else, even though Brogdon was kind of like the second best player of that game for them. So that's a little interesting question mark there. But yeah, love Smart, love White. They both look very, very viable. Even if Brogdon's back, they both should play a solid amount of minutes. The big man, Williams and Horford, now that Horford's back, sure, you can get to them. They're both pretty cheap. They both have upside, but they're not really like plays I'm going out of my way to play just because of the Indiana potential value once again. And then Grant Williams, kind of the same thing. I'll group him alongside those two other bigs. He's playing a ton of minutes, but he's usually not the best point per minute guy. He's just an okay play right now. So yeah, for right now, I'll just throw in Tatum, and I'm going to throw in Brown. But as I said, there's a bunch of injury news that we kind of have to wait for this slate. So it'll most likely all change by the time the first game starts. So make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter. For Charlotte, everyone kind of looks priced about right. Like if I had interest, LaMelo, Rozier, they're always solid tournament options. Prefer getting to LaMelo if you're going to land on one of those guards. And then Plumlee's actually been very, very solid. The minutes have been great the past 4 games. He's been great at rebounding and scoring, which is a little unusual for him. So if you want to ride the hot streak there, don't mind it. The rest of the team, they're just kind of there. PJ has upside. It's just don't love him in this matchup versus Jason Tatum. Same thing for McDaniels. Just a lot of foul prone or potential foul trouble for both those guys with Tatum and these guards on Boston. So they're just more GPP plays if you want to land. I'm sure not going out of my way to play them. Smith will get the backup point guard run about 20-ish minutes. You can look to him. And same thing with Cody Martin. Solid value play there at 3,200. He's been playing a ton of minutes. Not a high usage guy, but I love the minutes on him and the price tag. Memphis, the big news here is going to be Dylan Brooks. If he's out, we'll get potentially a starting lineup of either Zaire Williams or David Roddy, just because, where is he? Conchar is out. Brooks would be out, so they wouldn't have a shooting guard. Maybe they slide Tyus Jones into it. I don't think they would. I think they'd rather bring him off the bench to kind of, help the second rotation. So right now, it'd be interesting in one of those two, plug-in guys that they put in at shooting guard for Brooks. But if Brooks is back, my only interest would really be Ja, maybe a little bit of Bane and Adams, but that's really it. Not a ton of interest for Memphis. Obviously, there's blowout risk here. If, Brandon Clark is in, obviously that takes a little bit of a hit to a guy like Steven Adams in his minutes and his upside, especially if he gets in foul trouble, they'll always go to Brandon Clark. So just keep an eye on that there. Indiana, kind of the same lineup path I'm going to do for tonight as I did last night. Nemhard, super disappointing. The price tag came up a little bit, $300, but I mean, he played 34 minutes, shot 2 of 16, still got 25 fantasy points. I mean, we know he's massive upside, especially if he's hitting the shots. Even a blowout, he should be playing most of the game. So really like Nemhard once again. And I still like TJ McConnell. He only played 24 minutes, but he's super, super productive when he's out there. I don't know if we can expect that much production, but still, 4,000. Let's say one of the other guards, Duarte, Nemhard, get in foul trouble or something like that. TJ will get more minutes. But yeah, he should see mid-20s minutes. He's super, super, another very, very solid play in this matchup. If it's a blowout, he should still play minutes as well. The rest of the team here, if Turner's back, it kind of takes out guys like Jalen Smith, who he didn't play, but he came off the bench, saw 20 minutes. Where is he? Not Terry Taylor. Isaiah Jackson. He started, played 28 minutes. He's a foul-prone guy, but he was super, super productive. Got 7 blocks. He usually gets like 1 or 2 a game, but 7. A little bit of an outlier there, but still, he was a very, very solid play. Flat min. If Turner's out, we can once again look to Isaiah Jackson. We can look to O'Shea Brissett if he does play. Let's say O'Shea Brissett is out. Maybe more minutes for a guy like Jalen Smith. Maybe they're bringing off Terry Taylor. What to wait for that. But yeah, right now, good amount of interest still in this Indiana team. Obviously, we still have Buddy, Mathurin. They both look great at their price tags. So still a lot of interest in this Indiana side. What to kind of wait for the news with Brissett and Turner to see if we'll make any pivot plays. Right now for Atlanta, everyone's kind of priced about right. Okongwu had his career game last game, 62 fantasy points. I think once again, he probably looks the best just in terms of price point. It did help that John Collins got in foul trouble, which was more minutes for Okongwu. But yeah, everyone's kind of priced about right. Not a ton of interest. They're just more of those teams. Like, if you land on the guy, sure. I don't think I'm going out of my way to play any of those guys. Maybe Trae Young, just because he obviously has huge upside. For the Toronto side, Siakam looks very solid here in this matchup. With everyone back, his upside is a little bit limited. As you saw last game, 35 real life points, only 49 fantasy points, but the minutes are always there for these starters. So if you want to land on any of these guys, I prefer getting to Siakam and Van Fleet just because of their ceilings. But, Scotty Barnes, OG, I don't know if I get to Gary Trent. He's a little bit too pricey for me as being a very score-independent guard. But yeah, the starting 5, they're all very, viable plays. Once again, another team not really going out of my way to play, but if I land on them, sure, don't mind it. And then not really playing many minutes, 2 guys off the bench. So I don't think there's a need to go to anyone there. Moving on to Cleveland and Minnesota. Big news with Cleveland is Donovan Mitchell. If he's out, Garland and LeVert should take over that role. Would really like LeVert there at that price tag. Garland would have a good amount of interest in him. Obviously, a great matchup here versus Memphis. If he's in, there's more of like secondary options. Once again, another team where, sure, you can get to these guys. No real strong take. Maybe I do like Jared Allen a good amount there. Very big bounce back spot there versus Portland. 39 minutes, 49 fantasy points. Once again, I like him going against Gobert. Should see a good amount of minutes. So yeah, I have a good amount of interest in Jared Allen. If the team's fully healthy, obviously if Mitchell's out, would have more interest in guys like LeVert and Garland. And the rest of the team, they're just there. I don't think there's a need to take a shot on Kevin Love right now. Seti, Rubio's back, saw 10 minutes. Seti saw 8 minutes are down on him a little bit. So yeah, it's really just kind of the starting lineup. That's it for me. On Minnesota, big news is Anthony Edwards. If he's out, then it's going to open up a lot of value on the side. Kyle Anderson will become way more viable. We'll get Noel, McDaniels, Rivers maybe slides in the starting lineup. Maybe they get weird, bring Wendell Moore off the bench. But yeah, that's the big news there is Anthony Edwards. Guys like Russell and Gobert would step up. Same with Anderson. Maybe they slide like a Naz Reid in the starting lineup. They could get, they could go 100 different ways with this lineup. What to kind of wait and see. But if Anthony Edwards is in, I don't mind him as like a contrarian spend-up play. I mean, we know the offense is going to go through him. He's been great. I don't love the matchup versus Cleveland, but yeah, he looks solid. Gobert's decent. He's been okay recently. D'Lo always worth a tournament play. But I mean, yeah, it's just another team where it's just like, sure, they're there. They have upside. They're not going to have a lot of ownership, but there's no real need to play them right now. Moving on to Philadelphia. I love Philadelphia here, especially Embiid. Always talk about you really want to target Utah with the opposing team's bigs, aka Embiid. I think he had a massive game versus them. 100 fantasy points in his last game versus them. So I'm assuming people are going to box score watch, see that. go back to him. But I just love him in this matchup. We know Utah's terrible against opposing bigs. Embiid looks fantastic in this matchup. So I love Embiid a lot here in the spot. Don't mind pairing him with Harden. That stack has worked really well this season. So you could definitely go to that. The rest of the team, more secondary plays. Like Tobias Harris is questionable. If he's out, maybe they slide. Where is he? A Mountain in the starting lineup. He'd be viable at 4,800. But if Harris is in, no real interest besides Harden and Joel Embiid for me. I will mention Niang is questionable. If he's out, maybe those minutes go to like a Harrell or like a Thibault. They'll probably kind of spread it out. So no real news there. Utah, no interest for me. Clarkson's price is coming down a little bit. He's been doing decent recently. But that's about it. I mean, sure, you can get to like a guy like Vanderbilt, should see decent minutes with Kelly O still being out. I mean, they started with Walker. He'd be an okay play, just super foul prone, especially with, going against speed. So not a lot of interest for me right now on this Utah side. Yeah. And then moving on to Dallas and Portland. Luka, very solid spend up if you want to get up to him. He's been averaging like a triple-double, like 75 fantasy points the past 2 weeks, playing just a ton of minutes. The big news is Christian Wood. If he's out, it really does change this team. Not really sure who they're going to look to as that like secondary option to score, because it's pretty much just been Luka and Wood the past like 2 weeks. They still have DFS out. They still have Kleber out. They'd probably had to play like Bertans more, maybe Jalen Hardy to go a little bit smaller. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that could definitely change a lot. Maybe they start McGee. Powell will get more minutes. So you could definitely punt play and, put in like a Powell or McGee and hope that Wood gets ruled out, but that's super, super risky. Right now, not a lot of interest for me in that Dallas side. Obviously, we know the offense is going to go through Luka, Wood, and then Dinwiddie's always at the secondary option. Sure, you get to Tim Hardaway Jr., but he's very, very score independent. And then moving on to Portland, always have interest in Dame. It's one of those spots where you could definitely, this is the start of a back-to-back, so you could definitely play it where, you think Dame's going to sit out just because it's a back-to-back. And then that means Simons will look fantastic there at 6'4". I did that the other day. I think it was 2 days ago. It's late that we get the news that Dame Lillard was questionable. Obviously, he played. He actually went for 50 against Cleveland, which is a very quiet 50. Yeah, you could definitely build your lineup around that. That'd be the smart move, is to, assume Dame might be out on the front end of a back-to-back. Look to Simons there at 6,400, and then you'd be sitting pretty, especially in this matchup. Simons has like a floor of like 40 and like a ceiling of like 65 without Dame there. Everything goes through him. Nurk has been great recently. You can go to him. Minutes are a little bit of a question mark, especially if there's no Wood. Dallas could go super small. Don't know if that'd help out Nurk at all. Grant's there. Everyone's there. It's really just for getting to a guy like Simons at 6,400 if there's no Dame. So right now, I'll just take out Marcus Smart and just throw in, where do you go? Simons there. So right now, this is kind of the core plays for me. Love Nembhard, love Simons, love Embiid, McConnell, and Tatum. Obviously, there is some other news we kind of had to wait for, which could change like the spend ups, kind of the mid-range or the cheaper value guys. So stay tuned with me on Twitter for that. Hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.